3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hello and welcome back to the Week 9 episode of the Texas Private School Podcast. As always, I'm one half of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson, joining you from the heart of Dallas, Texas. Walker Lott, my co-host, joins me from College Station, Texas. Walker, a fantastic week in private school football. More importantly, we got a fantastic opportunity to go out west to Midland Christian for the second time since we've been doing the podcast and go and finally cover some football. We have been asking, bordering on begging them, begging them to go out there to watch a football game ever since we got to go see basketball, and it absolutely lived up to expectations. We cannot be more grateful to Midland Christian, Mustang Network, and everyone that made it possible. The hospitality was unmatched. It was one of the most fun weekends I've had this year. Walker, first of all, how are you? Second of all, how is your experience along with mine out in Midland this weekend?
Yeah, I'm a little tired, man. I'm still getting over all the flying and tired, man. But it's been awesome, man. So, thank you again so much to Midland for doing that for us. It's been so much fun. Shout out to Midland Meat Co. I know Wes is wearing the hat. I am too. That dinner over there, if anyone's in Midland, go check out the Half Acre. It was phenomenal. But yeah, thank you so much to Midland Christian. Y'all, no one does it like them. With their, how they do their athletics, their media side of things, just the environment. No, it's the collaboration of all of those things together. It's a unique place in all the right ways. Yeah, great time. Should be a vlog coming out. I don't know when. I'm almost done editing it. So, whenever that gets done, it will be posted. But yeah, great time. I'm up on you. You beat me in the picks this week by one game, but, the 4-game lead goes to a 3-game lead, which I'm still 3 games ahead. I just need to keep it.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be interesting. Also have to give a huge shout out to Wyatt Davis and Mason Vandergrift for the second
100%.
time. They basically gave us a tour of the school, which was awesome. These two kids are some of the most talented media guys I've ever come across. We brag so much on Mustang Network and what they do, with graphics, with photography and videography. It's top notch, and in large part because of what these kids do. It's hard to imagine and, conceptualize they're still in high school, but they do such a good job. So shout out to Wyatt Davis and Mason Vandergrift. Those two kids are awesome. Keep doing what you do and keep on rocking. But yeah, Walker, you bring up the pick records. You went 13-6 last week. I went 14-5, so I got a 1-game advantage on you. However, as you mentioned, I am still 3 games back in the overall record. You are 113-33. I am 110-36. You kind of talked on your half of the pick record. My mindset is still the same as it's been the past couple of weeks, not trying to get it all back in one week, trying to, I'm trying to be like a woodpecker in a petrified forest, just always, be hungry and look for opportunities. But I mean, I'm trying to get, 1-2 games back a week and eventually just overtake you slightly, but we'll see. Will that happen? I'm not sure. It's kind of a random walk or roll of dice at this point in the season, but it certainly will be interesting. Without further ado, speaking of games, let us get into the TXPS Media Football scoreboard and recap with one sentence some of the games that happened last week. As always, 5 of the games on the left-hand column will be recapped more in depth. So we will start at the bottom with Bishop Lynch losing to Trinity Christian Addison 10-6. With an offense like that, I expected more production.
The defensive battle did not go the probably what we said better offense way. I mean, shout out to TC Addison. That's a big win.
Exactly. Parish Episcopal beats San Antonio Cornerstone 56-13. Don't look now, but scary hours for Parish.
Yeah, Parish is hitting their groove right going into district and going into a pretty tough slate. So it's gonna be interesting to watch.
Absolutely. All Saints blanks Southwest Christian 53-0. Walker Lott, how you feel?
Next question.
Legacy Christian out of Frisco beats Bishop Dunn 48-18. Sets up a heck of a matchup this Friday.
The Eagles look legit, man. I'm excited to see against your Cougars this week.
Speaking of that, Grace Community beats Flower Mound Coram Deo 59-17. Coram Deo Burners, comma, where are you at? Question mark.
Retweet.
It's actually repost now. You forget Elon's blowing Twitter up in front of our eyes.
Very true. Very true. Repost. There you go.
There we go. Regents beats Hyde Park 50-14. I want to say next question, but great, solid performance from Regents.
Yeah, Hyde Park's not a bad squad, and that probably the third best team in Austin this year, and Austin gets it done with a big win.
Brownsville St. Joseph shuts out St. Michael's 23-0. Shout out the Bloodhound defense, team traditionally known for impressive offense, stout effort on the defensive end.
Yeah, big win for Brownsville St. Joseph. They're still trying to fight for that second place spot in that district, so it's going to be interesting to watch. And
Lutheran South.
They can do it very quickly. That's going to be interesting to watch with kind of how the Division 4 or District 4 is looking this year. Not the best. Brownsville, where their seating could lie, could help them out a little bit.
That's a really good point. We always dog on D3 for being far and away the worst division in D2, but I mean, District 4 isn't impressive this year. They could make a run. That's a really good point. Next game, Lutheran South destroys Beaumont Kelly 53-14. A lot more tough sledding for Kelly up ahead, it appears.
Yeah. Rough time over there in Kelly. So
Bowler Brook Hill beats Dallas Covenant 36-0. Shout out to I get, is alma mater a school that you graduated from? Is that I think that's the technical definition. Shout out to a former school of mine, Brook Hill. Great win for them, all jokes aside.
I am shocked you were shouting out Brook Hill, but every crazy times nowadays. Anyways, great win for Brook Hill.
Munster Sacred Heart beats Temple Christian 17-14. Solid performance from Swarzinski and company.
Yeah, it's a big win against one of the better Division 4 teams, and that we've always said. So Sacred Heart's kind of hitting their stride later in the season. Good for them.
Speaking of Sacred Hearts, Hallettsville Sacred Heart beat Shiner St. Paul 31-14. This seems to be the year for the Indians.
It looks like there's a new king in the Division 4 South, and it looks like it's going to be Hallettsville Sacred Heart.
Brazos Christian gets back on track, beating Houston Northland 28-21. Demons excised following last year.
Yeah, that's a big win over. Probably was going to be a pretty good matchup this year. But yeah, last second win for Brazos Christian goes their way and avenges last year. So good for them.
Addison Greenhill beats. That is right. It's Addison Greenville.
It is. Or Green Hill.
Green Hill. Sorry, I almost got it right. Green Hill beats Oak Ridge 32-21. Coach KJ, can I get some swag? No, just kidding. I didn't pick y'all. Walker Lott deserves the swag. Great win for Coach KJ and company. Friend of the program.
I'm gonna pull up a stat. I did not have this prepared. I'm so sorry. Green Hill's first district win since November 3rd, 2017. Wow, that's a big program win for KJ and the guys over there.
There's any man to right the ship, I'm going to put my money on KJ Williams. Shout out to Green Hill. Huge win. Sticking with some SPC action, Houston Christian beats John Cooper 28-14. Good performance. John Cooper is somehow underrated this year after a slow start. Great win for Brett Gilchrist and the gang.
Yeah, man. Houston Christian looks really good. Excited to see what they continue to do in Division 3A and in hopefully the state championship.
Fort Worth Country Day destroys Cistercian 37-3. Massive win. I don't really have anything else to say here.
Yeah, shout out to Andrew Edwards and company. It's a big win for the Falcons over there off Brian Irvin.
Bellaire Episcopal Merks St. Mark's 41-3. Business as usual following that snafu against St. John's.
Yeah, Bellaire Episcopal is looking ready to go and is sharp going into this big game against Kinkaid this week.
San Antonio Christian beats San Antonio TMI 57-28 after some really dark years for San Antonio Christian. Just solid wins this season.
Yeah, shout out to Talon Lewin and company. Big win for San Antonio Christian. San Antonio TMI going up to Division 1 is a rough time for them. Probably won't see them officially in there next year.
Yeah, that's a good point. Grapevine Faith blanks John Paul II, 43-0. JP2, it's time to blow it up.
It's going to be interesting to see what John Paul does with this program. Um, I don't know where you go from here. The rise and fall of that program is something that like needs to be written about it for the years. Because in one year they had multiple Division I talent guys, and then that next year they all transfer out, and it's that went on Jared Bradley is starting at Tech, Grayson James that started at Duncanville the next year. Man, Terrence Brooks, who's at Ohio, no, not at Texas. I mean, come on, that team was insane. But yeah, John Paul, man, what a team, what a team.
Just wild times at Ridgemont High. Prestonwood beats Nolan Catholic 70-12. Can't really take it. Great performance from Prestonwood. It is Nolan, but hopefully Prestonwood is taking some momentum into what should be a massive game against Parrish in a couple weeks.
Unless he threw one this week. I saw that Kellen Tasby's thrown for only 2 interceptions this year. That's a good stat mark for him. But yeah, big win. 70 points, man. Wow. Big win for Prestonwood.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Wow. So that concludes our TXPS media, football scoreboard recap powered by none other than Ryan Schroeder. Shout out to Ryan. But we will now move on into our 5 games of the week from last week with a quick recap of each of those, starting with Antonian at Central Catholic. And the Apaches are out for blood as they blank crosstown rival Central 42-0. Jace Toscano throws for 5 touchdowns as Riley Strode accounts for 2 in the first half, as Central has zero answer to any facet of this Apache attack. Bode Ferguson had 2 pass breakups, 11 total tackles, and 3 quarterback hurries, and Michael Moreno and Landon Proutry also eclipsed the century mark on the ground. Prouty on the ground. Moreno had over 100 all-purpose yards. Walker, Antonian looks really good, and we've been talking about how good St. Thomas looks. We kind of fell into that trap last year. I know Cardenas got hurt. That's a big reason why they didn't win. But Antonian, I think right now is proving that D1 South isn't a cakewalk for St. Michael's. Do you think there's any validity in that thought?
I think there's some validity for sure. I would never count out the Apaches. We counted them out last year, and they definitely proved us wrong. So can't count them out. I still think unless, something happened in the last few weeks that I don't know about, I still think it's a full strength St. Thomas squad. So I still would lean that way. But if anyone can prove me wrong, it's Jace Toscano and the Apaches, who Jace Toscano threw for 4 touchdowns and a half last game, or 4 total touchdowns. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. Toscano is a heck of an athlete. And we've been talking about Riley Strode since he was a sophomore as well. I mean, seeing these kids develop into such great athletes as seniors, it's fun to watch. And I don't know, I'm really hoping they continue to improve and set up just a fantastic game against St. Thomas. I'm very excited to see that happen. But that being said, that is the recap on Antonian at Central. The next game, Second Baptist at Fort Bend Christian. And don't look now, but Second Baptist is 2-0 in district as they knock off most likely their most formidable district opponent in Fort Bend Christian 22-0. Sophomore defensive back Adam Vessel had a pick 6 to start the game, along with 3 pass breakups and 6 tackles, as well as a block punt, just for good measure in there. Langston Davis also had a touchdown run in the second quarter, and Cannon Toon threw a touchdown to Jackson Powers, in the third. Also, Kelvin Baptiste is it Kelvin Baptiste? Baptiste, Baptiste. There we go. A defensive tackle had 4 sacks and a tackle for loss. That's 4 sacks at defensive tackle. That's a fantastic performance from him. Walker, I want to ask, looking ahead, are these still the top 2 seeds out of this district?
SPS is definitely the number 1 seed in that district, especially at full strength. Fort Bend is going to answer that question with a win or a loss to TWCA this week.
I think so. It's going to be interesting. That Fort Bend TWCA game it's not necessarily been interesting. Fort Bend has handled them in the past couple years. This year, I think it has an opportunity to be closer. We're actually going to preview this more in depth, so I won't say too much on it. But Walker, do you just definitively right now, would you think that Fort Bend Christian is most likely the 2 seed? I mean, I'm not trying to give away too much before we pick the game, but it seems, I don't know. It's hard.
I think they're still going through some growing pains. So I wouldn't officially say they're the second seed yet. No, I would not. I really wouldn't.
It's interesting. There's still a wealth of, legit D1 talent. Max Granville, Bennett Warren. I think Ivan Jimmy Ducksworth is absolutely a college player. It's interesting. The talent's there. There's obviously a young quarterback in Jack Malone. Romario and Tillman is a beast. Again, I'll save a lot of this for when we preview the game. But I still think there's a lot that Fort Bend can grow into, and hopefully they get better as the season progresses. But moving on into the next game to recap, we have Lake Country Christian at Trinity Christian Lubbock, and Trinity Christian is quietly 6-1 and 2-0 in district as they destroy Lake Country Christian 48-7. So, Walker, Trinity Christian has gotten past their two toughest district opponents in dominant fashion. Do they pose a legit threat in Division III?
I would say I'm gonna say no because it's DC, but that sucks because they're a really good squad. They're a very talented squad. And any other team, if any other team not named DC was in that district or in that division, I would absolutely say yes. But I can't say that. I just truly can't. Because I think last year's TCS team was a better team and with Marcus and all that, and they weren't a threat. So how can I say, as an analyst, to be honest, how can I say that? But that shouldn't take away from TCS. If a team not named DC was in this division, they might be the favorites out of the North to make the state championship this year,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It does suck because, like I said, I never like looking at these divisions and then just seeing one team in there and being like, yeah, that's the state championship. That's the state champion. You can write it in already. I like competition. Again, the game's not played on paper. We'll never truly know until it's played on the gridiron. But all this to say, I don't think we had TCS as a legit competitor going into the season, and they're very, very good right now. And I'm very excited to see if they can round into form and be a real challenger in the playoffs.
I could see this TCS Lubbock and DC semifinal matchup in a couple weeks.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I could definitely see that.
Also, an interesting little caveat here. TCS's last non-playoff game in the regular season is against Liberty Christian. Both of those teams need to get that game off their schedule. I see absolutely nothing good coming from this game right before playoffs. The only thing that I can possibly see is somebody somehow getting hurt. I don't know. I think,
Both
there's a lot
squads.
of
Doesn't make sense.
Exactly. I think there is something to be said about momentum and game reps, and there's a lot of that complaining about it in the MLB. Teams that sit longer are at a disadvantage. Now football is very different. I don't think that translates at all. All that to say, I think it would be in the best interest of these teams to get that game off of their schedule and take an extra week to get healthy and prepare going to the playoffs. Walker, do you see any benefit to that game being played last week?
No. Even last year, I get maybe last year, but I don't feel like it was a good game last year either. No, I could be wrong about that, but I just don't I don't get it. I honestly, if I was those schools and they won't agree, but I would just cancel. It does not make sense for either squad because what if that's a game where, Cola Welliver, knock on wood, does something, you know what I mean? A game right before playoffs, that's not what you want. Same with LCS or for TCS, if Eli White or something, you know what I mean? That's just not what you want. It's not a game that needs to be played. You run with the twos and have a good time in Abilene. You know what I mean? So
that I actually would be very down. I say both teams roll their JVs out and just duke it out. So who's got the better J? No, actually, I do like seeing the twos get reps.
Shout out to Trinity Valley JV. They're real ones.
They are real ones. They DM me on that account, be like, "Hey, X date, come to this game." I'm like, "Dude, I've got class until 10:30 p.m. on Tuesdays. If you shoot me a live, if they live stream it, I'll pull it up in asset and wealth management practicum. But I don't think I'm making it out there." But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't see any reason this game should be played. It will probably be played ultimately, but it's just a quick 5-minute rant for no reason from us. But moving on into the next game to recap, Kinkaid at Episcopal School of Dallas. Kinkaid cleans up the bottom of 4A as they rout Episcopal School of Dallas 43-7. Miles Rader shines in this one as he carries the rock 31 times for 263 yards and 2 touchdowns, over 300 all-purpose yards for Mr. Rader on this contest. The Falcon defense is only allowing 15 points a game, and they will be tested in the final 2 games against EHS and St. John's. The final game against St. John's will most likely be for a trip to the title game, but Jack Klosek will break that down here shortly. Walker, Kinkaid, another team that we had taking a couple steps back this year, clearly didn't hear that message, playing very well here early in district play. Your thought on the Falcons taking care of business here?
That's a big win against a ESD team. Jack Klosek, our SPC analyst, he actually knows ball for, people who might doubt him. He said before even the season started that Kinkaid defense was going to come into play this year. And that's absolutely what they did in this one. 43-7. Having an SPC offense like ESD held to only 7 points is huge. And that prepares and kind of shocks me for how I should handle this pick this upcoming week, because if they can handle a good offense like ESD, how can they handle an elite offense like EHS? Going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, it certainly will. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We got a heck of a game to recap here shortly, but before that, we will go with the final game that we are going to recap, a game that we were live and on site for, Liberty Christian at Midland Christian. Well, we expected a Liberty Christian win, but maybe not with a running clock. Liberty continues its tear through taps with a 46-0 shutout of Midland Christian. UConn commit Caldwell overthrows for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns, with 1 to Jalen Hawkins and 2 to Quentin Brown, who had over 100 yards on only 3 catches this game. Our player of the game, junior quarterback Chase Garnett, had 124 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns, as there wasn't much the Mustangs could do to slow down this Liberty juggernaut. This is Liberty Christian's second shutout of the season, and honestly, I think that they're due for another one next week. Walker, Lott, I'll let you take it. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but that was unnecessary on my part. I'll give you that. I'm poking the bear a little bit, but am I wrong?
I can't get mad at you, man. Gosh.
I will be honest, you played nice with grace for the most part, even when they were down. That was unnecessary by me. I don't know.
To answer your question, I don't know if this is gonna sound bad. Hopefully it doesn't. What a wild thing. Anyways, I don't think it's I think they are. SES people, you didn't hear that from me. But as an analyst, I have to say it does not look good for my Eagles next week. Just don't get injured, guys. Just no injuries, please. That's all you need from this game, because the games that matter are the last 2 games of the season for y'all. These are not the game. This is not the game that matters. But I want to shout out Jalen Hawkins is a guy that I kind of mentioned to you before the game. Just another threat for this Liberty offense that is just full of weapons. And he's one of the other guys, and just shout out to him. He's a really good player. And the touchdown he had on the sideline where he got up and got it and went down the sideline, that was not supposed to go to him. That was supposed to go to Quentin Brown. He's right behind him, but he just went up and snagged it like beautifully and then ran for the score. That's how good it is. That probably if that with the Quentin 2, it probably would have scored. That offense is scary, man. But shout out to Jalen Hawkins.
Did Q, Jalen, or Cole tell you that?
Jalen and Q told me that. So it was basically Jay was like, yeah, I went up and got it type of thing. So yeah, insane. But Chase Garnett, man, for the first time I've seen him live, I get what you mean. Where he's strong, he's so strong when he runs the ball, multiple times you could see that strength over and over and over, where guys just didn't want to hit him. And then when you finally wanted to hit him, he's so quick and athletic and shifty, where he can go right past you, and his burst is insane, or he can go side to side and make you miss. He's a sensational running back, and being only a junior, that's scary, man.
He reminds me of a little bit faster Sean Coleman, if you think that's accurate. I figure you can't talk, I think, because your mic's unplugged. But yeah, no, Chase Garnett, I said it probably 2 or 3 times on the broadcast, and even Brandon Brunson. Shout out to Brandon Brunson, one of our great friends at Midland. One of the best guys you'll ever meet. If you ever have the opportunity to tune into a Midland Christian broadcast, he's the voice of Midland Christian, one of our great friends over there. But even Brandon, like I was talking, I was like, yeah, Chase is a rare combination of speed and strength that it's hard to find sometimes at running back. And, after a couple touchdowns, Brandon was like, I really see what you mean when you say the combination of speed and strength, because a lot of people say that, but it's rare that you see those two things really come together in a running back like that. I've been saying it since I saw him. We saw him in spring ball. A fantastic running back, just another piece in this loaded Liberty Christian team.
Hey, do I sound good now? Am I good? Okay, cool.
Yeah, but they are fantastic, and we talk about so much about the offense. The defense is just as good with C.J. Witten, Cooper Witten, Max Saul.
Right.
Who is number 2? The guy that plays between
Maddox. I'm not gonna say her last name, buddy. I don't know how to say it. Maddox, number 2, the junior from
Yeah, I mean, the entire team is stacked. Liberty, I'm not trying to jinx anything. You can probably pencil them in as state champions.
I want to say also, no, continue first. Continue.
No, I was done.
Okay. Shout out to Nathan Humphrey on the offensive line. We didn't know, but Keaton Smith on the offensive line, their left tackle, is out with injury. I don't know how long he's out. I didn't get to ask him, but a guy like that having to step up against a good Midland offensive line, where in the first half Liberty was not able to run the ball extremely well. They were in it good, but you know what I mean. Nathan Humphrey and that rest of the offensive line really stepped up that second half. And so that I think Nathan Humphrey's a good collegiate talent at 6'4", whatever weight wise, probably around 290. Like, he's a good collegiate prospect. And the rest of the offensive line, they played really good in the second half. Props to them.
Yeah, absolutely. A complete team effort from this Liberty squad. They are poised very well as we inch closer towards playoffs. But that being said, that actually concludes our 5 games of the week from last week. We will now transition into our other news segment, starting with a personal favorite segment of mine, Do They Cover? So, as always, 4 teams, 4 divisions, starting with D3, the original Do They Cover team, Dallas Christian. Last week, they did, in fact, cover the spread against Dallas Homeschool. This week, they are 34.5-point favorites versus Brook Hill. Walker, I debated this one for a second.
Wow.
Again, far be it from you to ever give props to Brook Hill. That being said, I actually do like Brook Hill as a program a lot. But
so I'll give my pick first. Yes, they will cover. Continue.
Yeah, it took some thinking from me, especially after Brook Hill blanked Covenant like 34-0 last week. All that to say, Brook Hill's better than I thought they were at the beginning of the year, especially with that close loss to Grace. But it's DC. DC's probably gonna win this game in the neighborhood of 65-14, if I had to guess. And now that I say that, they'll just end up shutting them out. But yeah, DC covers. Next game, does Parish Episcopal cover? Last week, they did, in fact, cover. This week, they are 38.5-point favorites versus Nolan. Yes, they cover. Don't think twice about it.
Yep, continue.
Does Liberty cover in TAP Division 2? Last week, they did, in fact, cover against Midland Christian. This week, they are 39.5-point favorites against Southwest Christian. Yes, they cover. They cover this number all the way up to 48 points.
Oh, man. Dang, man. What do I gotta do? Why does Liberty have to be in my district, man? Yeah, they probably do.
I won't.
They probably hold them under 48. I'm gonna say that. Hold them under 48. And then they're gonna drop 55. And that's what's just gonna happen. And it's just like, what am I supposed to do with my life?
It's how it goes. Listen, I played in a district with Cedar Hill and DC for 3 years. I mean, it's you go through some of this.
You do. We already, man. Anyways, continue.
Dallas First Baptist this week is a 19.5-point underdog versus Lubbock Christian. As always, we were actually previewing this game on the episode, so I'm not going to give any picks here whether they cover. You can fast forward to our coverage of them in the episode if you want to see that pick there. But that is the Do They Cover segment. Now moving on into our top 10 private school power rankings. Starting off with the overall top 10. Well, as it's on the screen, you can see nothing's changed. All these teams won except St. John's, and St. John's lost a game to it wasn't Cornerstone,
Legacy.
it was Legacy. Yeah, I always get the Independents mixed up. But yeah, Legacy Sports Sciences team, which is stacked. We're not going to drop St. John's below EHS because EHS lost to St. John's. Long story short, Walker Lott, we have a lot more rankings to get into this week. Any overarching thoughts on the top 10?
Now, I saw some people talking, the Parish thing where why we put Parish above EHS. Second week, Parish deserves to be. They've been rolling since then. So, but yeah, good rankings.
Exactly. Okay. And now something exciting. We actually have all of our divisional rankings done. Me and Walker sat down for about 30 minutes to an hour before the episode. Banged all these out. As always, a good amount of thought goes into these. We're not just kind of mindlessly typing away. We look at these from a lot of different angles, bounce ideas off of each other, and come up with the rankings. But we are now well into district. We figured it is time. Starting with TAPS Division 1. At number 1, we have Parish Episcopal. At number 2, Houston St. Thomas. Number 3, Antonian Prep. Number 4, Plano Prestonwood. Number 5, Tomball Concordia. Number 6, Central Catholic. Number 7, Trinity Christian Addison. Number 8, Bishop Lynch. Number 9, Houston St. Pius. And number 10, Nolan Catholic out of Fort Worth. Walker Lott, yet again, I always say these make relative sense looking at them. I think a point of contention might be Antonian Prep over Plano Prestonwood. Your thoughts clearing any of that up?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be that's the only one that you can kind of be like, okay, what does that mean? But San Antonio Antonian Prep is 6-1. Prestonwood's 5-2. We kind of went with the higher seed, and Prestonwood and Antonia's playing some really good football against some good public schools. They've been really good in district, and man, St. Thomas is very high up there for a reason, but Antonia doesn't look bad at all. Prestonwood, I still also isn't bad at all. And the top 4, we have them where they have them right now. It might be switching at the end by the end of the season.
Yeah, no, it is certainly interesting. But that is TAPS Division 1. We now move on to TAPS Division 2, where we see, surprise, surprise, Liberty Christian at number 1, Fort Worth All Saints at number 2, Austin Regents at number 3, Grace Community at number 4. Yes, number 5, Second Baptist Legacy out of Frisco is at number 6, Midland Christian at number 7, Fort Bend Christian at number 8, the Woodlands Christian Academy at number 9, and Fort Worth Southwest Christian, aka SCS, at number 10.
Yes.
So, Walker, both of our teams sneak into the top 10. That's not biased. We actually are probably harder on our own teams than anyone else is
100%.
at the end of the day. But I mean, yeah, there's not a lot I can really pick apart at this list. The only thing is maybe All Saints. It's questionable over Regents after the close game against Midland, but at the end of the day, they still have a lot of great wins on the resume. Your thoughts overall on D2?
I don't think it's questionable. I think All Saints he bounces back over SES, which is a good defense, a good squad, and dominates them truly. So I don't think that's a question mark. I think Regents is still good, but they've always had questions about, they don't play that many tough teams in their district, and they kind of have that fatigue going into the playoffs and all that. I think that number 1 and number 2 are good for their reasons. 3 is really good as well. Grace Community, I think that might be y'all's highest ranking since we've started doing the rankings. So for 40 years, this is the best squad y'all have had. Congratulations. But yeah, I think we'll talk about this a little bit more because of course D2 is more tough. Grace, I think deserves it. Number 6, versus number 4 this week, gonna be a good matchup. And yeah, I think that's a really good Division 2 rankings.
I will say this is cool to me because I specifically remember in high school, whenever I would see, I didn't even really know who this is when Texas private school football guy was Texas TAPS guy.
Yes.
And we would see his rankings and we'd be ranked in the top 10 in the state in D2. And I'd be like, this is awesome. This is number 1. Someone's talking about us. And number 2,
right.
We're ranked. I have that same feeling. I hope that the guys feel the same way whenever you see you're ranked on these lists. It's part of the reason why we do it. It makes it fun for everyone. You got the guy doing rankings, you have us doing rankings. It's just at the end of the day, it's our purpose for what we do is to get more coverage for everyone and to make this, a little bit more fun. But that tangent aside, we now move on into our top 10 for Division 3 and Division 4. Dallas Christian is number 1. Dallas First Baptist, a D4 team, is number 2. Maybe the highest the D4 team's ever been. I don't know if Lubbock Christian ever got up to number 2 last year, but Trinity Christian Lubbock at number 3, Cypress Christian number 4, Lubbock Christian number 5, Sacred Heart Hallettsville number 6, San Antonio Holy Cross number 7, Fort Worth Lake Country number 8, Brook Hill number 9, Covenant Christian out of Colleyville. Colleyville, that was the East Texas came out. The East Texas came out on that one. I try to hide it at number 10. So Walker Lott. Again, this makes sense. I think TCS over Cypress could be a point of contention, but outside of that, a lot of that makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, I think that's the only one that you can really talk about. Even Lubbock, Lubbock is 5-1 or something like that, maybe 6-1. But that's another one being at number 5. But also watch out for Hallettsville Sacred Heart, maybe sneaking up the ranks a little bit. They're really, really good. I think they're 7-0 this year. I don't think they've lost the game, and that's the best team in the South in Division 4 for a reason. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think good rankings overall. But we have one more to recap: the SBC top 10. At number 1, Houston St. John's. At number 2, Bellaire Episcopal. Number 3 are the Kinkaid Falcons. Number 4 is Houston Christian. Number 5 is Trinity Valley. Number 6 is ESD. Number 7 is St. Mark's. Number 8 are the Dragons of John Cooper. Number 9 is Fort Worth Country Day. And number 10, their inaugural ranking on our list, Green Hill out of Addison. Shout out to them. So, Walker, I think some people will be upset that EHS isn't number 1. At the end of the day, St. John's beat them, which again you could use for EHS to be ranked above Parish in the overall rankings. Long story short, a little more cut and dry in the SBC. St. John's hasn't lost a district game. EHS has. Anything you want to poke at in the SBC rankings?
Oh yeah, I think this is really good. I mean, yeah, TVS, you could talk about, are they the 3A versus EST 4A, but I think that's right, man. And shout out to Green Hill, man. What KJ Williams is doing over there should not be unnoticed. It is very, very impressive. Shout out to them in Green Hill, man, and the players too. Being able to buy into a new coach and a new program in year 1 and be like, okay, the past is the past. We're building the future, and this is the present. We're going to build up the present. And I'm just very, very impressed, man. Usually it takes a couple years, and it will take a couple years for Green Hill. But I think seeing the impressive wins and close losses they've had this year, it's awesome to see.
Yeah, it certainly is. Shout out to Green Hill. Shout out to all the teams that made the SBC rankings. It is fantastic to see all them on there. So that being said, Walker, it is time to pick some football games, but not before we hear a word from our sponsor, High Point Signs and Apparel. Listen, we've beaten this to death. It was so incredibly daunting looking at a task like launching our own merch line. It was scary. Like, we didn't have a lot of direction or a lot of experience in this. And you think, oh, this is going to take so long. These people are going to be so booked and hard to work with. Not at all with High Point Signs and Apparel. The transition was seamless. Everyone was super receptive to ideas that we had, and they really made a vision that we had come to life. Listen, they don't miss deadlines. They provide exceptional customer service. They will meet or beat any price, and they create online stores that can provide your employees with apparel, or they can be profit centers. Walker, these guys are fantastic. We've said it over and over. We don't endorse products that we specifically don't use. These guys are fantastic. What do you have to say about High Point Signs and Apparel?
No, they're awesome, man. They're the best. And, we loved working with them in the past. We're going to continue to work with them in the future. There's nothing more I can say, man. You said it all right. It's awesome, man. They do great work. If you need playoff shirts, if you need signs, anything you need for the playoffs and for your teams, whether that's football, volleyball, basketball, baseball, golf, tennis, swim, any of those sports you need, they can help you out there, man. So shout out to High Point Signs and Apparel.
Absolutely. So all that being said, well, first of all, you can go to the link in our description. We have High Point Signs and Apparel's link there. Go to them, check them out. They're fantastic. But shout out to them for sponsoring this episode. All that being said, Walker, let's pick some games with a special guest. All righty, I told you we were going to pick games with a special guest. Special guest you have, Jack Klosek. Welcome back to the program. But before we pick some games, we got, as always, the SBC playoff picture is just absolutely fantastic and chaotic. First of all, how are you doing? How is New York? Second of all, what do we need to know about the SBC playoff picture?
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. As always, it's a pleasure to be back on here. This is my second time doing this season. Hopefully not the last. New York is good, working with the Columbia Athletics Department, with the football team, which is a lot of fun, doing some game day operation stuff. That's all fun games, and I'm enjoying that. But now it's time to turn our attention to the SPC playoff picture. So we're going to start with 4A quickly. As it stands, Kinkaid is 2-0, St. John's is 2-0, Episcopal is 2-1, ESD is 0-2, St. Mark's is 0-3. So St. Mark's is out, and ESD most likely is out. The two most likely scenarios in terms of the 4A playoff picture depend on Kinkaid and Episcopal. If Kinkaid wins this Friday against Episcopal, and if St. John's beats the Episcopal School of Dallas, both St. John's and Kinkaid would be going into would be going into Week 10 at 3-0. There's a couple different ways this could go. In 2011, a similar situation happened. Kinkaid and St. John's were both undefeated going into Week 10, and they played that game as the SPC championship game. Now, I'm not sure if history will repeat itself there, but that's one possibility. Another possibility is St. John's and Kinkaid could just play back-to-back weeks, or maybe they could make some sort of alternative arrangement. I'm not privy to exactly what's the plan there. So that's the scenario number one that's probably most likely. The other scenario that is also somewhat likely is if Episcopal beats Kinkaid and St. John's beats ESD, Kinkaid would have to win against St. John's in Week 10. If that were the case, you would have three teams at 3-1. Then it would be a three-way tie, and the two teams with the best point differential within the Kinkaid Episcopal game, the St. John's Episcopal game, and the Kinkaid St. John's game, the two best teams out of those three would make the title game. Where it gets really wild is if St. John's loses to ESD, Kinkaid beats Episcopal, and Kinkaid beats St. John's. Then there would be a three-way tie between ESD, Episcopal, and St. John's at 2-2. Whoever had the best point differential out of those three, again, within those games, would be Episcopal, ESD, St. John's, ESD, and Episcopal, St. John's. Whoever has the best point differential out of those three would then play Kinkaid for the title game. And the final scenario, and I just want to check my notes because I wrote this out, and maybe had a little bit of help talking.
No one else does this for ES.
No,
This guy is the best that there is. Just everyone understands that. Continue, please.
I gotta try. So the final one would be Episcopal beats Kinkaid and St. John's loses to ESD.
Okay.
Then the winner of that would would likely go to the title game, because then Episcopal would be 3-1. Kinkaid and St. John's would be 2-1 going into Week 10. The winner of that would be 3-1. The loser of that would be 2-2. That's correct. So personally, I think the first two scenarios I mentioned are probably most likely. I mentioned the final two just to be fun and to think about it. But I think I don't think it's not a game we're picking, but I'll give my pick. I don't think St. John's loses to ESD this Friday. I think St. John's is the better team. ESD's at a huge disadvantage playing at St. John's. And I think that St. John's offense is going to respond well from what was a pretty big loss to Legacy. But that's why you play non-conference games, to get prepped for conference games. So I think the two most likely scenarios are either Kinkaid and St. John's both win, or St. John's wins and Kinkaid wins, and then that would force Kinkaid to win Week 10. If St. John's wins Week 10, then it's a St. John's Episcopal SPC championship, would be a rematch. So that about does it for SPC 4A. There's a lot of moving parts. There's certainly a conversation to maybe be had about how to make this more fair, because you're going to have three teams that are, pretty neck and neck, and somebody's going to be, the odd man out. But it's a little more simple when we move to SPC 3A. So Houston Christian has Cistercian and Oak Ridge the next 2 weeks, and it's a foregone conclusion that, they're probably going to win both of those games. And then this Friday, Cooper plays at Trinity Valley. The winner of that will most likely play Houston Christian. Trinity Valley could go and beat Cooper and then lay an egg against Country Day, but they would still have the head-to-head over Cooper. So all that to say, I think that one's going to work a little more simply. But it's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to get into it. Can't wait to see what happens. As always, I'll be pulling for my Falcons, but it'll be interesting. It'll be a lot of fun. Should be a great 3-week stretch, guys.
Jack, first of all, fantastic. Some of the best, hardest hitting analysis that we have during the season. Also, I can't fault you for being biased towards Kinkaid. At any time that Grace is brought up in this program, as you will see here when I pick their game here in a couple minutes, I have to, especially when Grace is good. Like I can't. I got to lean into it. It's a fun time. But I will say this is the last thing we'll hit on regarding the SBC playoff format. Do you think it would be a good idea? And then following up on that, do you think it'll ever be implemented? A 14 playoff for SBC. That feels like the most intuitive situation to have, the top four teams, have a semifinal and a final game. That feels like it would be more fair to me. Is there any reason to think otherwise?
So there's a couple ways of looking at it. We're going to have to go into a quick little history lesson. SBC did have a 14 playoff from 2012 to 2015. At that time, they had what was called large school and small school. Right. But district play, you'd play against large school and small school teams. So in 2015, Kinkaid played against like Cistercian was in their district, and St. Mark's was not in their district. So it was a large school, small school. All Saints was in this at the time. Cassidy was in this at the time. Holland Hall was in this at the time. So I think the last year they did the playoff picture, the 4 teams in the large school playoff were Country Day, St. Mark's, Episcopal, and Kinkaid. Kinkaid ended up winning that. And then what happened was they got rid of that. And at the time, they were only playing a 9-game regular season instead of a 10-game that most teams play now. Although some teams do play 9 games and use a bye week. I'm used to not using a bye week. That was something we never did when I was at Kinkaid. Something that probably never happened at Kinkaid, which I kind of like. I liked playing every week. I like, give the guys as many games as possible. And then in 2016, they divided up into SBC 4A and 3A by classification. And at that time, SBC 4A began as Kinkaid, St. Mark's, ESD, St. John's, Episcopal, Houston Christian, and All Saints. All Saints was booted from SBC or left. I don't know too much about that. I think they were booted. And then they went and played Indy after 2016. And then 2017, it moved down to 1. And then 2018 and 19, Green Hill moved up, which was not a good decision because Green Hill didn't win a district game. In fact, Green Hill won their first district game. They beat Oak Ridge last week. They won their first district game since November 4th, 2017. Put that in context. I was in 8th grade in November 4th of 2017, and I'm a sophomore in college now. So that's a big throwback. And then Houston Christian dropped out after the 2021 season. So now you're down to a 5-team playoff. So I think it would be interesting if they did it. To my knowledge, with SBC realignment coming up, and there is going to be a little bit of shakeup in that, but that's probably for a future episode. There will be a little bit of shakeup as near as I can tell, but I haven't heard anything to them adding a 4-team playoff back. My preference would be to do some sort of a 4-team playoff, or to maybe do kind of. It's tough because, there's some teams that really can't compete against Episcopal and Kinkaid, but at the same time, some people are getting left out. So I think there's a better way to do it. But I would like to see probably a second round of playoffs like there used to be, because that let teams like Kinkaid in 2015 sneak in and end up winning a title. I think it's more fair that way. Last week, we had 4 teams finish with 7 wins each in ESD, St. John's, Episcopal, and Kinkaid. So I think that would have worked a lot better last year. This year, it's only 3 teams because ESD has taken a step back. But that's kind of where I stand on that issue. It's interesting. Coaches kind of go, from who I've talked to, and SBC kind of go back and forth on it. I think there are pros and cons to both, but I think it's more fair to the guys and more of a playoff experience because, it's like, if you're just the top 2 teams, some people are getting left out, and it's fun to play more than one playoff game.
Yeah, exactly. I think part of the reason, and again, it's apples to oranges, but I think part of the reason March Madness is so fun is you get these big upsets because, it's so many teams. I think when you condense a playoff format down to two teams for a one-game championship, it leaves out any sense of chaos, which we talk so extensively about in the SPC. I think it would probably benefit from a 14 playoff, but who am I to speculate on that? It's something that the people with more credentials than me will decide in the future. But fantastic discussion regarding SPC playoff picture. It's great as always. But Jack, if you are ready, and Walker Lott, if you were also ready, let's get into some games of the week, starting with number 8, Fort Bend Christian Academy, at number 9, the Woodlands Christian Academy. Fort Bend Christian is a 27.5-point favorite. Episodic disclaimer: we don't make the spreads. Fort Bend Christian will travel north to the Woodlands in a battle to determine second place in District 2, Division 4. It is no secret Fort Bend Christian has struggled up to this point in the year, but they're on the downhill slide of their schedule. Outside of the Woodlands Christian Academy, only Kelly and Katy St. John's remain. Averaging less than 2 touchdowns a game, this offense has struggled, but there still are high points, such as Ramarian Tillman is a beast, and running behind Volkamit Bennett Warren, he should feast on a team that gave up 6 rushing touchdowns to Grapevine Faith. Listen, if Jack Malone can hit Tyler Curry, Max Granville early and get his timing down, I feel like that could open up the offense even more. And adding in Granville and Ivan Jimmy Ducksworth on the defensive line, I have to take Fort Bend Christian in this one. It might be ignorant to take a 2-5 team here, but I have reason to believe that they'll figure it out at some point this season. I still like Duke High's Gunnar Auckland and Grayson Boker, but I'm sliding with the Eagles here. Give me Fort Bend Christian. Walker Lott.
I'm going to go get something. So, Jack, I'm handing it off to you. Go.
Jack Klosek.
Wes, I'm with you. I think with Bennett Warren and Max Granville and Ivan Jimmy Ducksworth, like you mentioned, leading the charge, I think Fort Bend just has too much talent. And, what's going to help them along the way is they did play a tougher schedule. They played Iowa Colony out of Arcola, which is an up-and-coming 4A program. Randall, which is an up-and-coming 5A program. They played TCA Addison. They're having some growing pains losing Brady Dever and Braylon Gardoni, and some of those guys is tough. But at the same time, they have some really talented athletes, and it shows based on what kind of offers these kids are garnering. TWCA is kind of in that kind of middle point. They've lost to a team in Pius, which was a little surprising to me because Pius has been down. But they lost to Faith as well, who's also been a little down. So, for those reasons, I'm going to have to take Fort Bend. I think Coach Jordan Black has done a great job at that program, obviously winning a title last year. And, even with a tough loss to Second Baptist last week, Fort Bend showed they had a nice win over Lutheran South, and I think they're going to get TWCA this Friday.
Yeah, I absolutely do. I know that we've gotten Fort Bend Christian merch, as I see that Walker is grabbing shirts from his closet. I can't remember if Walker got TWCA merch. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to guess this is gonna be a Fort Bend Christian merch pick. I'm not entirely sure. You know what, Walker Lott, I'm done rambling. Tell the people who you're going with.
This is a fun one, guys. Looking at the colors here today, we have battle of green and yellow right here in 2 green and yellow schools, one on the up and up. Great talent. This is gonna be a battle of Division I caliber talent on both sides of the ball. It's gonna be interesting to watch. But I'm guessing you both took Fort Bend in this one. I'm gonna guess.
Correct.
That's correct.
Jordan Black has been so good to me, and the whole coaching staff has been so good to me. So I have to choose. Psych! I'm chicken TWCA. Go Warriors! Let's go! Let's go Warriors, baby! Let's go TWCA. I'm going with Gunnar Auckland, Duke Hezzy,
Grayson Boker,
Jonathan Vidal at quarterback. This team is very good. I'm excited to watch them play. I'm going with the upset. I'm going to go with TWCA finally takes the rightful spot at the second place in District 4. So give me Give me the Warriors, baby. Give
Walker, first of all, thank you for diversifying our picks so we're not all on one side. Second of all, if there is a guy that I would not want to fake out in a podcast, it's probably Jordan Black, because he is one of the scariest human beings that I've ever encountered. So if this comes back to bite you, just know I'm not backing you up in a fight against Jordan Black. You're on your own there.
What's even better, guys, is I will be at this game Friday night, ladies and gentlemen. I will be at this game, and I'm so excited for that one.
Hey, Walker, you want to know something even funnier?
What, man?
I got a text from Brady Dever yesterday saying, can y'all go and cover a Fort Bend game? Guys have been texting me, asking me to get y'all out there. So Fort Bend Christian kids want you there, and you just psyched them all out on this episode.
I absolutely did. It's going to be at TWCA. It's going to be a good one. Give me the Warriors. Hey, Fort Bend, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
I would stay on TWCA sideline if I were you.
Grayson Boker, give me a couple sacks here tomorrow, baby. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling good about this one. Auckland, I know who you can be. Give me a couple sacks, man. This defense is going to come to play tomorrow.
Bennett, you know I have always had y'all's back first and foremost on this podcast. I advise you to do the opposite of what Walker Lott has said. But all that being said, we will move into a game for the top of Division II, District 2, number 6, Legacy Christian out of Frisco at number 4, Grace Community. Grace Community is a 21.5-point favorite according to Massey ratings. Eagles, Cougars, Friday night, Tyler, Texas, the battle for the District 2 championship. Grace is 7-0 and Legacy 6-1 heading into the matchup. Both teams beat up on inferior competition in the non-district and have cleaned up on the bottom feeders of this conference, except for Faith. That's not a shot at you. That's more of a Coram Deo. Who's the other? I don't know. More of a Coram Deo shot. But I'm not wasting time here. Here's why Grace is going to win this game. Grant Turner can't be stopped. You can only hope to contain him. If you key on him, Davis is going to bomb to heck on your head top. Harmon and Taylor are going to bash your skull in if you try to run up the middle, and Hecht is going to come in on the defensive side and earhole you if you try any cute crossing routes. Shock them forever. Grace Community, Grace Community, Grace Community, ready to roll. Grace Community wins this game. Grace Community wins district for a second straight year. Walker Lott, tell me why I'm wrong.
I'm not going to tell you what's wrong. I'm going to flip it again. Jack, go again. I know I'm
flipping I'm riding with Grace Community. I got it right against Faith the other week. I think, we talked about the last time we talked about Grace maybe playing a not so great schedule. You want to talk about not great schedules, and all due respect to Ryan Schroeder's alma mater, Legacy Christian has played one of the weakest non-conference schedules that I've seen in private school football. I mean, they played a home school, they played Oak Ridge, they played St. John the 23rd, and they played Cistercian. And I mean, a win is a win. And look, that program with Coach Doug Hicks has taken a great step forward. And in fact, their former offensive coordinator, a guy named Colt Peavy, is the offensive coordinator at Lipscomb Academy in Tennessee, was a really good school. That's where Trent Dilfer was the coach, I believe, before he went to UAB. And they have some very talented pieces. I know that they had a kid that they sent to Ole Miss, who's took a PWO there, who actually is friends with a good friend of the podcast, David Cody, who now goes to Ole Miss. So that's not to knock Legacy, because from where they were the past couple of years, they've taken immeasurable steps forward, and that starts with the coaching staff. And they had another coaching change, but Coach Hicks over there has done a great job. So that's not to knock them there, but I think the game's at Grace, which making that trek from from the Metroplex to East Texas can always be a little treacherous.
A much prettier place to play, might I add.
I haven't spent any time in Frisco, Texas, so I couldn't tell you. I have spent some time in Tyler up in the Piney Woods, and it is quite beautiful up there.
Absolutely.
Tyler actually has a special place in my heart. My younger brother won a Little League Texas state championship at Faulkner Park in Tyler. My brother represented the 2018 team that went to the Little League World Series. That's a little fun fact I don't think I've mentioned on here.
I grew up playing Little League ball at Faulkner Park. I spent about 10 years of my life playing ball there. That is awesome.
It's a very cool venue. And so Tyler does hold a special place in my heart. But at the same time, I think, like you mentioned, Grant Turner, there was that tweet on Twitter that I think maybe our good friend No Context did regarding how Grant was going to perform against Corem Deo, and our friend No Context was making some pretty good predictions there. And for those reasons, I got to take Grace. I think they're the top team in the district. And I think they're going to take care of business, and they might even get a playoff game win this year. You never know.
I would like to see that very much. Walker Lott, your thoughts on the contest?
So I am summoning the ghost of Ryan Schroeder here for this pick. He has been gone for many weeks. For a whole season, he has been gone. He has been out in the woods. We don't know where he is, but I'm going to, in Spooktober, October 16th, so close to Friday the 13th, I'm going to summon Ryan Schroeder. Ooh.
What's up?
I don't rock with witchcraft.
Yeah, no, that's a lot. That's a lot going on right now. I got a crew in the back. We got a whole squad, but what's up, y'all? I'm here to pick a pretty important game, a game that I would never miss. I am the pick of Walker Lott. Basically, I saw Legacy play Liberty in a battle of two undefeated teams. I gathered a lot of information there. Basically, the information I gathered was that Legacy is pretty good against every other team besides Liberty. But no, it was a good game. And if I had to say who I think is going to win this Legacy Grace matchup, we're talking about two teams that have faced each other a lot over the years. I've done some time in Tyler myself for a variety of other sports, aka riding the bench for soccer. But I think that's all that needs to be said. So like as always, man, what most years I would go against Legacy. They're red hot right now. You know what I'm saying? I got to go with my Eagles. I got to go with my Eagles against the Cougars. It's been like this for years, and it'll be like that this weekend. So give me Legacy against Grace. I don't know. Wes Tolleson doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Whoa, did you see that, man? Oh, that
I
was
heard a voice.
Yeah, the ghost of Ryan Schroeder appeared. I told you we would get him on this season. We would. And yeah, here he is. So thank you to the ghost of Ryan Schroeder for appearing, for picking it. I am absolutely going to pick Legacy Christian in this matchup. You know, what are your Grace Cougars after the other game against Grapevine Faith? You said, I took that personally. Okay, you about to take this L personally too. Give me for Frisco Legacy. Give me this one. Sorry, Wes. Can't go get you this one.
GT, Dylan, Blake, y'all hear that? All right. I want that clipped. I want that in the locker room. But I mean, all that to say, it's going to be a good game. I love it.
It's going to be a great one. Yeah.
Legacy, and again, I didn't talk much to Legacy. They're fantastic. I like seeing them be competitive. It's going to be a great game. We've already spent a lot of time on it, but very excited. If I wasn't going to be at the best Division 4 game I've ever seen or had the opportunity to cover, I'd absolutely be in Tyler this weekend. So good luck to my Grace Community Cougars. Go shock the world. Moving on into the next game. It's John Cooper at Trinity Valley, the number 8 versus the number 4 team. Trinity Valley is a 14.5-point favorite. A trip to the SBC 3A title game is on the line Friday in Fort Worth as the Dragons try to complete the turnaround of the century. Jack Klosek, you're a little more well-versed with SBC than I am. Tell us what we need to know about John Cooper going to Trinity Valley.
Yeah, Wes. So John Cooper has done wonders since they started the season 0-3. I don't think any of us thought, even though we may have predicted that John Cooper was going to be down, I did not have them dropping 3 straight to TWCA, Cypress Christian, and even St. Mark's. And St. Mark's has proved to have not a great season at all. But, you know, they bounced back strong, took care of business. They had a little bit of a scare against Green Hill, but took care of business against Cistercian and Oak Ridge, and then won a close one against Fort Worth Country Day, where Dean Calhoun showed why he's one of the best running backs in his class in private school. He took that game into his hands. Great players take control of the game late. And, you know, as Walker Lott has mentioned on here before, Dean Calhoun showed out and showed why he's such a great player. So with all that aside, Trinity Valley, since losing to Houston Christian, hasn't really played anybody. And anybody that they've played, they have just demolished. They played St. Andrews last week, who's an independent team. In SPC right now. They're an SPC school, but they're playing an independent, like, freelance schedule. They've taken care of Oak Ridge and Green Hill and Cistercian. But I'm still bullish on Trinity Valley. behind Gavin Parkhurst, Ben Nagishu, whose production maybe not quite. I don't want to. It's two really talented running backs between Dean Calhoun and Ben Nagishu, but somebody that can rival Calhoun's performance on the ground. Jacob Maynard, Will Scott, Carter Lee, all those guys, and the talent that Trinity Valley has. Even though Santiago Fernandez is coming back and Dean Calhoun has been a presence this entire year, I think Trinity Valley gets it done in Fort Worth. John Cooper, as we've talked about, has to make that trek up I-45 to Fort Worth, and I think Trinity Valley wins. I think Trinity Valley wins in the Battle of Bryan Irvin the following week, and I think that Houston Christian will have to win a title game once again in the Metroplex. That game, if I'm not mistaken, will be held in Euless at where the Trinity Trojans play. I got Trinity Valley winning this and making the title game for the second straight year, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I like Trinity Valley a lot. Listen, with the way John Cooper's turned around, it wasn't an automatic pick for me. Especially with Trinity Valley dropping that game to Houston Christian. And John Cooper played Houston Christian pretty close. Like, it's not a foregone conclusion in my mind. A stat I thought was interesting, sophomore quarterback Santiago Fernandez started the season for the Dragons. He made his first appearance last week since September the 8th against St. Mark's. It appears, and again, I'm just saying what the stats on Max Preps tells me. I have no sources, could be wrong. He didn't appear in a game from September the 8th until last week. I'm assuming he was hurt, and freshman Colston Collins took over in his absence, and they split reps last week. Listen, regardless of what the story is there, I really like Parkhurst facing off against a freshman or a sophomore quarterback, especially if they're switching around. I like having the steady hand in Parkhurst. I also, listen, Dean Calhoun's going to get the majority of the attention here. Ben Nagishu is one of the most impressive guys I saw on that field when I covered Trinity Valley. He spent a lot of time in the weight room this past summer. He looks like it. The dude is an absolute man. All that being said, I think if Maynard and the defense could come to play, the offense will do its thing for Trinity Valley. Long-winded way of saying is I like Trinity Valley in this game. Walker Lott, you siding with your hometown or are you going down to Houston?
You said a lot, so I'll keep it short and sweet. Funky Town, Texas, and this one. Give me the Trojans.
That's fair. I like that a lot. Moving on into another SBC game that I would be remiss to let anyone take over except Jack Klosek. Kinkaid, the number 3 team in the SBC, travels to EHS, the number 2 team in the SBC. EHS is a 14.5-point favorite in this one. Jack Klosek, let's hear what we need to hear.
Talons up, baby. Get your talons up. See, I keep this for special occasions, and I'll be wearing this Friday night. My team issued travel shirt. Go Falcons. Kinkaid has taken care of business all season long. There are a lot of doubters, but their defense is proving why it's one of the best in private school. They can hang with anybody. They held St. Thomas to 28 points, which is beyond impressive. They beat Archbishop Shaw from New Orleans, who beat Archbishop Ramel for the first time in, I think 15 years. Took care of business against Second Baptist, just in a different league than St. Mark's and ESD. Beat Little Cypress Mauriceville, a solid 4A program from Orange, Texas, 54-14, and hung with Jasper for a lot of the game. Jasper was a top 10 ranked team in week 1. Episcopal is going to give them, some good work. Carson Gordon, Braylon Thompson, we've been over it. They're a team loaded with talent, but they have some holes, as St. John's showed us. And I think with Kinkaid's offense coming along and how well their defense played, if St. John's, whose defense is kind of their Achilles heel-ish, I don't want to throw my man Coach McKay under the bus because that's my dude, and his defense has taken many, many strides forward, and a lot of their guys are very, very young, and this is their first year playing varsity. But at the same time, if they can hold Episcopal to 32 points, and McKay, who's a disciple of Coach Larned, was on staff at Kinkaid, as I've mentioned, for many years, and McKay is a Kinkaid alum, Coach Larned is going to get his defense right, and they're gonna shut it down. And the offense behind David Capobianco, who has emerged as the starter, Cooper Chambers gets some reps, but Cooper Chambers is playing both ways right now. He's playing defensive back as well. So they have, from watching some of their games, they'll put Cooper Chambers back there if they're maybe doing some more run stuff. But David Capobianco is getting the majority of stuff, and he looks a lot better than he did in the beginning of the season. David, was our newcomer of the year for a reason. Is a really solid quarterback. And Miles Rader last week made a candidacy for, the Built Ford Tough Texas private school football player of the week. Had 300 plus all-purpose yards, 3 touchdowns, and also getting some reps defensively. Was a defensive player of the year in the Padilla poll for SBC, and now turns around and gets it done on offense. A really underrated prospect, even with how talented Episcopal is and getting back Carson Fowler. And I think Jackson Renucci may be back as well. Don't quote me on that. And having a week to reset against St. Mark's, I think Kinkaid gets it done at Episcopal, ending Episcopal season.
That's interesting. I like all that a lot. What is interesting to me when we break down the stats a little bit, there's kind of a clear-cut formula to be Episcopal. You have a dominant run attack and you keep the ball from them. We saw it work last year in the state championship. We saw it work with St. John's this year. EHS lost to St. John's because of a star running back averaging 10 yards per carry on 30 carries. Can Miles Rader be that guy? Last time EHS and Kinkaid faced off, Micah Bell carried the ball 44 times for 209 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry. 2 stats for this game: 35 carries, 6 yards per carry. Rader hits those 2 marks and Kinkaid wins the game. Will that happen is the question. I don't know. And this pick kills me because I hate to ever pick against Kinkaid in this spot because it scares the living fill in the blank out of me. The game's a coin flip in my opinion, and I'm going to take the team that has no excuse to lose this game in EHS. I'm going to side with Episcopal. Looking on paper, there is no reason that Episcopal should lose this game. The game's not played on paper, though. We will see. Listen, Carson Gordon is one of the most insane athletes I've ever seen in my life. Braylon Thompson is too. BJ Thomas is fantastic. Madden Morgan at linebacker. Literally, the team is stacked with D1 talent. Again, the game is a coin flip. If EHS loses this game, serious questions will come of it. I have to take EHS in this game, though. Walker Lott.
I really thought you were going to go the other way on that.
I almost talked myself into it.
So did I.
Man, this was a game that last year, you talked about the last year, how Michael Bell carried the ball 44 times. I talked about it many times in the off season, the preseason, and during the season, how demoralizing that loss could be for a football team. Getting the drive that was around what, Jack, 15 minutes?
15 minutes. I think it spanned from 11 minutes left in the maybe 8 minutes left in the third quarter to 5 minutes left in the. I can't really do the math off the top of my head, but it was a long drive,
and it ended in a field goal.
Yes,
it does so that is one of the worst ways to lose a football game I've ever seen, is not being able to stop the run 3 yards at a time, just over and over and over, and that hurts any team. I've said it for the many times this offseason, preseason, like I just said. How does that affect the team? If you were good, you think of that and be like, that will never happen again. And then, like you just said, St. John's happens where Cole Allen, the superstar that he is, runs the ball all over them, and then they win the game. I'm going to hope EHS learns from their mistakes and be able to stop the run. I'm going to go EHS. I'm going to say this clearly. I hope EHS does not forget what happened last year. If they do, I mean, I hate, like you just said, Wes, going against Larned is one of the worst decisions any man can make in their life, because he knows how to coach a game and he knows how to run SPC. But kind of like your thing, there should not be a reason AHS loses this game. They have the talent on their side, the ball players. If you, like you said, if Ranucci is back, that is huge for Bellaire. I don't know for sure, but
I'm not sure about that. I may have seen that.
okay.
I'm not sure.
Anyways, like Barty, Logan Barty, BJ Thomas is playing well. Gavin Sampson, everyone, they're playing good football right now. EHS, I hope, remembers that pain they had last year. And I'm going to hope that they do and take that and say, not this time. We're not letting you do it this time. And I'm going to go with the Knights in this one.
According to Twitter, Ranucci is back. So I was right on that.
That is huge.
No excuse. Yeah, Walker, you can tell the absolute fear for both of us in this pick. I don't like it. Anytime I have to pick against Kinkaid, I don't like it, even when every sign and analytic points towards the alternative. I'm gonna take EHS here. It's gonna be interesting.
It's at EHS too this time, right?
It is at EHS.
That's correct.
Literally, yeah. We'll see.
And it's Episcopal's final game of the year as well. So
it's a whole lot of factors in play here, but we will recap that game next week, and I'll be sweating it out while it happens. I'll also be sweating it out while I am covering Lubbock Christian at Dallas First Baptist on site in Dallas. That is the number 5 ranked D3, D4 team, and the number 2 ranked in Lubbock Christian First Baptist. Lubbock Christian is a 19.5 point favorite in this game. The 2 top dogs in D4 will square off on Friday as the Eagles travel east to the Metroplex to battle the Saints. Lubbock Christian is nearly perfect on the year, an open district with a 55-0 shellacking of my old hated rival Tyler TK Gorman. Quarterback Welker Horn is out for at least a month following an injury sustained against Sunray. Wide receiver / safety / whatever you need to play on the defense, Luke Lee has stepped in at quarterback, accounted for 4 touchdowns in the win versus Gorman last week. And wide receiver Joseph Fernahue, that's probably as close as I'm going to get, will be a threat to the Saints secondary. You factor in guys like Day Atkins and Brady Simmons toting the rock, and it's easy to see why Lubbock Christian is outscoring their opponents 314-106 on the season. However, McCoy, Sadu Robinson, Mitchell, Kaysen, nobody has stopped this air attack this season, and it will face its toughest test here on Friday. Listen, there's going to be a billion points scored this game, but I think First Baptist scores just a few more. Give me the Saints in this matchup. I told Coach LeBourne, for better or for worse, I'm not picking against Dallas First Baptist the rest of this season. Maybe that was slightly out of spite after they clowned me for not picking them week 1, but I love Dallas First Baptist. I also love Lubbock Christian. Regardless of the outcome, this game should be incredibly close. One of the most highly touted D4 games that I have ever seen previewed, but I like the Saints here. Walker Law, your thoughts?
This is a huge one. Because this is a lot of implications because, of course, in our opinion, this game will be played again in the semifinal matchup whenever that is down the line. These are the 2 best teams. Sorry, Hallettsville, you're probably number 3 in D4. But the offenses that both these teams have put up this year is insane. This also shows if one of these teams wins outright big, like outright, that is a statement for how Division 4 will go this year. And it's going to lose morale for the other squad going into the rest of the season. Lubbock Christian without Welker Horn is huge. Welker Horn is one of the guys that when we saw him at the TXPS retreat, QB retreat, he impressed us at 7-on-7 against teams like they beat a lot of good teams in the UIL 7-on-7 tournament down in College Station. This squad is good. I'm very impressed to see how this team goes into this game. However, like you said, Wes, the receiving attack for First Baptist is insane. There's not many teams like it in all of TAPS and all of SBC and all of the state. Having 3 Division I guys on your squad is very, very impressive. But I'm going to say a guy who I think is going to be the difference maker for this squad. I'm going to say it's Hunter McCoy. I think Hunter McCoy being at this squad and has found his rhythm throughout this year, has been balling, I think is going to be the difference maker for the squad. He is a true threat. And I would love to see, I'm going to pull up something. Yeah. Last year, Weatherford Christian with the helm of Hunter McCoy put up 47 points on Lubbock Christian at home. He knows how to beat Lubbock Christian. Put up 47 on him. I think he does it again this one. Give me First Baptist in this one.
There we go. Jack Klosek, Lubbock Christian, Dallas First Baptist. Your thoughts on our final matchup?
It's going to be a clean sweep, fellas. And I'm going to start with the one thing that neither of you have talked about, which I thought was interesting. And that's our good old friend, the transitive property. It's our good old friend, which is, can be, there's a little bit.
Are you going to use Riker?
I am not going to use Riker. I'm going to use a much better example than Bishop Riker. I'm going to use Hyde Park. First of all, punching 2 levels, not 1, but 2 levels above your weight class says a lot about both of these programs in Lubbock Christian and First Baptist. You're able to go out and beat Hyde Park, who's a decent, Division II team. I think Phil Dawson is their head coach, who was the NFL punter. And, Hyde Park had a huge turnaround last year. They're going to be a playoff team this year. That's very impressive. If you look at, what constitutes a Division IV to a Division II team, and you're able to go out and win, very impressive. Says a lot about both these programs. However, Lubbock Christian against Hyde Park in week 1 was a much closer game. It was 30-20 in favor of Lubbock Christian. However, First Baptist beat Hyde Park 47-15 with their air attack, 3 Division I receivers. Lubbock Christian has to make the trek to, First Baptist. Although I got to say, Lubbock Christian is a very well-traveled team. I don't think it'll affect them as much as it affects others. There was an article in Dave Campbell's about that team, which was actually really cool. How they, split up their travel, and they make an excursion out of it, and they, have like a team Bible study, which is all that stuff is awesome and can really bring a team together. That's what that's about. But at the same time, I think First Baptist is too talented this year. Beating a solid Division II team 47-15, they didn't beat St. Anthony. They didn't beat, St. John the 23rd. They beat a solid team that's got a couple wins, 47-15, led by a good leader in Phil Dawson. Give me First Baptist for a clean sweep.
Love it.
I like that a lot. Jack, are you are you familiar with regressions and statistical analysis of that nature?
Sure am, Wes.
Okay, well, I'm glad you are as well. It's kind of right up my alley. I want to do a sort of research paper on bus fatigue and see if we can get some control variables in there and see if we can quantify bus fatigue. I thought about this for about a year and a half now, and I've tried to figure it out. So one of these days we'll do a joint TXPS effort on bus fatigue and see if we can nail that down. How's that sound?
You can use it as part of your graduate program.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll take that. If I can wrap it to finance somehow, I'll figure it out. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's, I'm nervous anytime we're all on one side of the aisle in terms of a game. But regardless, this is going to be fantastic. 2 incredible teams left in any division in TAPS, let alone D4. It's going to be fantastic. But guys, that is actually all of the information we have to cover for this episode. Jack Klosek, first of all, thank you for coming on. Fantastic analysis as always. The best SBC mind in the game, if I do say so myself. But any final words, Jack? I'll turn to you first. Anything you want to leave the people with?
Yeah, I'm excited for these next couple weeks. How SBC4 it will shake out is very interesting. I think it'll be a great one this Friday night. Kinkaid versus Episcopal is always a fun one. It's great for the communities of both schools. It's, I have great memories from my games from it. I never lost to Episcopal as a varsity player. So, and, I played with a lot of these guys that are seniors now at Kinkaid. We had a lot of sophomores when I was a senior. So I'm really excited for those guys. I'm also, I think what St. John's has done is very cool. I think they're going to get a nice win over ESD. Kinkaid, St. John's, and Episcopal all being very competitive is awesome. At the same time, going down to 3A, what Houston Christian's done in their turnaround, going from 3-7 to a team that's going to waltz into the title game with an undefeated district record is unbelievable. Trinity Valley versus Houston Christian is going to be a very evenly matched game. Should Trinity Valley win, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. But I think Trinity Valley is a really talented team, and I do think their window is this year, and and next year they have some 20, because Parker's a 25 and Negishu's a 25. So they have a little bit more on their window, but it's fun to see teams, like Trinity Valley or Houston Christian or, St. John's. For a lot of my time when I was at Kinkaid, those were kind of bottom of the barrel teams. It's fun to see kind of the arc of it turn back. So I'm excited as always. Looking forward to the Space Friday night. Hopefully, I'll be a happy man when Kinkaid beats Episcopal, guys.
Absolutely. That hopefully we're both happy with. Hopefully, we're all three happy. And y'all can win, Grace can win, and SCS can do the impossible against Liberty Christian. Walker Lott. Anything you wanna leave the people with?
Man, we just dropped a touchdown pass. Didn't get the Chargers right now. Cowboys, man, what are you doing? We're settling for 3. Anyways, you'll know the result by the end of this. Anyways, I'm so scared about this week. Wes, we're going to get, we talked about like how we're going against each other on picks. We got 2 in the major games of the week that are going to be different ones. But man, it's going to be a fun week. This is going to be a fun one. A lot of implications for a lot of things this week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a fun time. But boys, I got a kayak to set up to go set on the Red River tomorrow. So we will get out of here in a timely fashion. As always, I have been 1/3 of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson. Walker Lott and Jack Klosek have fantastically been themselves. We will see you in the next episode. See you later.
3, 2, 1.